Welcome to Good Morning Sonic, everybody. Glad you could join us today. Welcome, Dracula. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Good morning. Glad to see you're feeling better.
Dude, I'm hardly feeling better, but I had to hop up out of bed because we got a lot of hot Fantom stuff to talk about. We got a meme coin incubator brought to you by everyone's favorite extremely wealthy guy, the GOAT. We've also got Canonical USDC hitting the Fantom network courtesy of the foundation. And I'm kind of curious about that, Dracula, because how big of a deal is it really, dude? And then at the end of the episode, we got an exclusive interview with the geniuses at Bancor, who I didn't know before talking to Dracula actually invented everything that I thought Uniswap invented. It's going to be huge.
Yep. Those are some huge innovators. So excited to have them on here with us in a bit. But diving into the stablecoin thing. So this literally just dropped. We were gearing up to record here. We've discussed this for weeks now, how the kind of the teasing of the Canonical stablecoin, was it going to actually come out before Sonic? Was it going to come out with Sonic? We've been talking for weeks about the Canonical stablecoin that was coming. Didn't really know if it was going to be released with Sonic, which, has now been pushed back a while, or if they were actually just still going to drop this at some point, like sooner. Obviously just a huge bombshell here. So they are teaming up with Wormhole and Circle, which is, obviously Circle is who issues native USDC. So going through here, USDC.e on Wormhole is bridged from native USDC, located in a smart contract on Ethereum, and holds the potential to be upgraded to native USDC in the future. It will be the oh my God. All right, let me do that again. I'll just start reading the tweet here.
No worries.
So yeah, the tweet here. We are excited to announce that Fantom's canonical stablecoin USDC.e will launch tomorrow, April 5th, which will be when you guys are watching this, supported by Circle and Wormhole. USDC on Wormhole is bridged from native USDC, located in a smart contract on Ethereum, and holds the potential to be upgraded to native USDC in the future. It will be the official endorsed stablecoin of the Fantom ecosystem and all future network upgrades. So, you have some more details here, just kind of describing it. What I mostly pick up from here, though, that will be big, is that they will be providing the USDC liquidity to back the bridged aspect of the token. So in some ways it is a bridge, just like anything else, but it does have that native backing, which is what you want. You want like Ethereum native USDC to back your bridged coins. But here, the very last thing I think is the big one is, should a mutual decision be made between Circle and Fantom to upgrade to native USDC, all USDC.e tokens seamlessly transition to native USDC without the need for developers to update any contract addresses or swap to the new asset. So what that is saying is that when it reaches a point that there is native USDC, say on Sonic, then this is it. It will just swap to it. There's not another token. So that's where the collaboration with Circle comes in, I'm assuming. But yeah, just big news overall. It is still a bridge at the moment, but you do have that strong native collateral. So like, let's say there was some crazy incident that happened again, you have it fully collateralized with real USDC, native USDC. So that's about as safe as you can make that. And then, of course, when it does come time to be native, then boom, that's the native USDC. So amazing work there. Obviously, partnership with Wormhole and Circle, that's just gigantic.
So at the flip of a switch, once Sonic is launched, we've got native stablecoin on Fantom. But currently, we're still using a bridge system, but this is a lot more secure because it's being custodied by the foundation, like they're providing the liquidity.
Yeah, so they're providing the liquidity in Ethereum USDC. So obviously that's like a native form of USDC. So it isn't a smart contract on Ethereum. So they are supplying the liquidity so that it can all be, backed with real USDC, native USDC. So that's, I've seen other people go this route, and, it's just a safer, it should still put people at ease knowing that, okay, even though I'm using USDC.e, I know that this $1 or however many dollars, it has that equivalent backing on Ethereum in the native USDC. So that is definitely a huge, it's a huge leap. I know that when they were still working on FUSD, I think it was still more like in the realm of like a algo stable and, you know, that kind of thing. And I think if you were going to put people's minds at ease to use something that was bridged at the moment, this is, this is it. I mean, you're able to say that, hey, if something happens, you'll be able to grab this, and it's full USDC backed.
Algos make me nervous. So this is better. This is the best alternative to there being natively issued on the chain, which I understand there are some difficulties with, especially when we're preparing for Sonic, right? It's future proofing, right? Why get it natively issued if you're just going to have to mess it all up when you launch Sonic all over again? Bullish, Dracula? Is this bullish,
Yeah,
dude?
definitely bullish. I think this is what a lot of people have been waiting for, before they kind of dip their toe back into the ecosystem. I know, especially people that lost a lot in multi, this has obviously been like, hey, I'm not playing around on there until there's like a solution I can trust. Obviously, having Squid Router, Axel USDC and Layer Zero LZ USDC has been great, but when you have a network, you still want that like network native stable. You can only go so far with having these other assets that are kind of still bridged all over the place. So as far as like liquidity and stuff, so it's natively backed, and they're going to be able to like deepen liquidity for stables on Fantom, and it'll be something that people can trust. So I think they've covered pretty much all the bases that you would want covered for like this situation. And yeah, I guess it makes sense that, if they're going to really put the work in to make it native, then I guess at this point, you're more looking at Sonic down the road. So this is like a good solution for the time being.
Yeah, right on. I mean, I think great work to the foundation team. Good hustle out there. Surprise announcement announcing this right before it goes live. Which I mean, this show will go out when this goes live, I suppose, on the 5th.
Yeah, tomorrow.
So quite exciting stuff, dude. Is this gonna give us the energy to rebound?
Could be, could be. I don't see how this doesn't make a this isn't I don't see how this is not bullish for a lot of people, and especially people that put like a significant amount of liquidity and money back into the network. So hopefully everybody is happy with this.
Dracula, I can see how it's not bullish. I'm gonna be a little bit of a bear here. I'm gonna be a little bit of a contrarian. I don't think anyone gives a dang, dude. No one wants US dollar coin, dude. What they want is they want a token with like a frog on it, and the frog's got a monocle.
They want frog dollars.
Frog. They want frog with glasses. Dog with hat. They
Frog
want
with monocle. I like it.
They want pony with shoes. They want stuff like that. They want something they can really get behind and believe in. And I think that's what Fantom's really missing.
Well,
I mean, there's S-Goat.
Yeah, there's S-Goat, and he also, I guess, speaking of S-Goat, I guess they've officially launched their meme incubator. They already have another project lined up called Dre.
So I mean, there's like some reason why this is like valuable, and that like we have seen like it's kind of a joke, but it's also pretty valuable in that at least in this current market, a lot of the narratives are around meme coins. It feels like it's been about meme coins for the last year. In my recollection, like I remember a while ago people talking about meme coins, right? I think Emmett bought one called Moo, like cow sounds Moo milk token. The meme coin mania, it has some juice to it, and that other foundations are getting behind it. We've seen, AVAX really go to bat for their tokens. Solana is pretty much just a meme coin network. Base has been having a bit of a meme coin season. All these things have kind of been contributing to activities on those networks. Arbitrum has received a proposal for a dang meme coin fund. So like it kind of seems like, if anything, Phantom's a little bit behind this trend. And so it's kind of nice, I guess, to see that the Phantom Goat is like leading a kind of almost a community initiative, if you want to view it that way. I mean, he's just a really rich guy who wants to see meme coins, so I mean that's a way to look at it. But yeah, so what does this incubator even mean? Like, I don't even really get what an incubator means. Like,
Yeah,
incubator, you put
so
an egg in and it hatches. So is like the meme coin's gonna hatch to $1 million?
yeah, so I guess that's the idea, is that Phantom Goat is, using his resources to kind of create like an incubator. From what I saw, it's saying that they will help with the entire process, from like planning to marketing, community building. I'm sure like in some aspects, some liquidity. So I got it pulled up here. The first one is called Dre.
Uh-huh.
Can't imagine who they are mirroring this after here. But I have an idea. So yeah, so Sonic Dre, and we have a nice little half Pepe, half Andre hybrid here that's absolutely terrifying.
The
But
Yeah, his skin color is
yeah,
disconcerting, isn't it?
yeah, the skin color is very like, I don't know, but they're working on it here. They've already got a bunch of posts.
Xi Jinping token. These are like NFTs too. These are not really coins. These are like NFTs, but I dig it. Um, the Dre one here, the Dre with hat. I do kind of like the synergy of the theme. But I'm curious to see what this like what not just specifically this one. Let me go back here to this manifests as the oh my god.
It's got a hole.
I didn't know there
It's a
was
real
so much to this
manifesto.
actually. There's
Yeah.
chapters. He
Well,
looks quite devilish, doesn't he, the goat
it
in
does. It
this?
does look a little devilish. I like it though. But
Have you seen that
I would
movie,
say,
The Witch with the evil goat?
yeah, Black Phillip.
Yeah, Black Phillip. Make a Black
He's
Phillip token to the goat.
he's
Anyway,
he's Blue Phillip.
yeah, he's Blue Phillip, dude.
See,
Uh,
all right. So hit me up with the meme incubator if you want to make Blue Phillip. We'll pump it.
yeah. Well, look, I got some opinions on memes. You wanna hear them? You wanna hear my opinions on memes?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
All right, these are just general abstract opinions on memes. I think for a meme to be successful, it's gotta be, number 1, easily reproducible. Right? Like, you gotta anybody should be able to just quickly, like, mock it up and modify it to fit, like, a purpose. And 2, it's gotta have, like, a very simplistic message that you can kind of put whatever you want on. So you think like a Wojak or like a Pepe, you can easily
Yeah,
edit them into, like, different characters, different emotions. That's the key thing. I feel like if it's too targeted, it gets too specific, and it's not gonna, like, take off. It's not gonna have broad appeal. It's gotta be natural. That's the difference between like a forced meme and like a non-forced meme. It's gotta feel natural, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I
So
mean, I think the Andre, the Dre. I mean, obviously it's a little niche. Um, Not
I think it's
everyone will get
funny.
it, but it is funny, and I'm sure Phantom people will ape. I'm sure it'll bring in some other people, knowing that the goat has something to do with it after S Goat launch went pretty well. Um, so yeah, but I kind of agree that to really bring in that culture and everything, it might have to be something that sort of like transcends just being Phantom related. But
Mhm.
this is pretty damn funny, and they've obviously put a lot of effort into it. If you go to their Twitter, they got a ton of art, a ton of stuff going on. So
Oh, yeah, like we saw the little music video.
then there's all kinds of, yeah, variations of the art. Um,
A lot of iterations here. I wonder how Andre feels about this. I haven't seen him reply to any of this.
I'm sure he will enjoy that immensely.
I kinda yeah, I mean, so, like, I like it. I think it's got, fit for Phantom, the Phantom community, but I do think we gotta get a little, I'm interested to see something being incubated that's got a little bit more viral potential. You know what I mean? Virality into it. You know what I mean? Like I want to get a virus. I want to get a meme virus, a more pleasant one than the one I've got. Um, so yeah, I'm trying to think. Like dog with hat, right? Like what makes dog with hat great? Everyone loves a dog. It's a cute puppy wearing a hat.
I guess it's
Look,
just that the image is like burned into your brain as well, you know. So
yeah, look, I got let me see here. I got ideas, bro. Look, Dracula, let's work together. Let's work together. Let's submit something to the incubator. Let's get the goat's money, and let's make a meme out of this guy. This is Joshua, and this is his friend. Okay, and then
oh
Josh, all
man.
kinds of things can happen to Joshua. Like this is a famous one. You know, he's getting zogged. This is one that Emmett sends me a lot of. You know, Joshua getting like fluoride and SSRIs and fluoride injected directly into his brain in a 3G
Oh,
tower. You know, Joshua, just like me, making his bills, getting paid. Yeah, so basically, look, no one steal this idea. I'm just saying it's possible. Um,
oh
but
man.
yeah. Anyway, back to this incubator thing. Maybe I should read this. Goat is the first decentralized meme foundation in the world, which makes me feel better that when I aped into the pre-sale, that I'm getting a little bit more than just tokens. I'm getting access to the decentralized meme foundation in the world. Goat's Foundation's only mission is to catapult the meme culture to another dimension, as memes are often some of the key drivers to chain activity. We found it imperative to help build a system playbook to help memes thrive. As a result, a more robust and fun ecosystem are formed. As a result, more robust and fun ecosystems are formed. The meme reign is about to start as the S Legion is formed on the Fantom chain. So us goats, dude, we're all goats and we're all members of the Goat Legion, S Legion. Ideas are the true currency. The Goat Foundation will validate, empower, and champion incredible meme projects with horns of gold and diamond hooves. Okay, now this is getting me. The Goat Foundation will support its S Legion at every stage of development, from community building to endorsements and grants. So hordes of degens, KOLs, DAOs, and devs are flocking to our ranks to create a foundation unlike any the world has ever seen. Together we will form the S Legion, a force capable of launching a project to the moon and beyond. Each project will endorse the next, forging a true community culture of colossal greatness.
Goatness,
Uh,
actually.
what's that?
Colossal goatness.
Oh, colossal goatness. I'm sorry, I misread. Yeah, so basically they're just forming a big group of people to help pump the meme tokens that they receive through strategic marketing and community building. Um, it sounds cool to me. It sounds interesting. I'm interested. Like I said, I'm interested to see what manifests. It reminds me of something we were talking about before the show. Milady Village, right? The Milady Discord. They launch a lot of NFT derivatives and meme coin tokens out of there, um, with varying success. But I would say they tend to, at least the ones I see, tend to be fairly successful. So,
Yeah, I
um,
mean, so you kind of make a community around it. It's an interesting
mhm,
concept, and yeah, I mean, like they're saying here, you know, each one kind of pumps you up for the next one. Um,
mhm.
so interesting to see. It's an interesting concept. Um, like they've said, you know, it's also an incubator. So I'm guessing with decent capital behind every project, they should be able to give everything a good push, make it interesting. So yeah, all in all, nice work, Goat. It's a pretty cool
Yeah.
idea. We'll see what shakes out.
The GOAT is not being a passive millionaire or whatever. He's being active. He's out here making stuff happen, isn't he?
He's out here in the
Um,
trenches.
he's down here in the trenches, dude. Now I'm curious, you know, I showed my idea, Joshua meme. I'm curious to see what other memes are out there that people want to see tokens of, or what they think would make a good meme token. I'm really kind of curious as to what the audience wants to see out there. So, just spam the replies.
Yeah,
Corval's cat could be one, dude. Who cares? Who
Corval's cat.
knows?
Hey, that could be huge. So
Yeah, man. I mean, Ansem's cat is huge, right? And I'm just as popular and famous and
just,
successful as
I mean,
Ansem.
it's
So.
yeah, it's comparable. So I think I don't see why Corval's cat cannot go big. Yeah, so we're gonna have a chat with Bancor. They've just we covered this a while back on the show. They had teamed up with Velocimeter to bring you Graphene, which is a product that's integrated with Carbon DeFi, which is this system that Bancor has created that helps you make like automated trading strategies. Um, they also have a product called Arb Fastlane, which is kind of a more user friendly way to like set up arbitrage. Sorry, I said arbitrage. They've also introduced Arb Fastlane, which is a product that just kind of makes it a little easier, like a little more user friendly to do arbitrage. Why can I not say the word? I'm just gonna say arb. Okay, hold on. One more time.
Arbitrage.
Arbit.
Dracula really said arbitrage, dude.
I don't know why I can't say it. All right, do not keep it. Besides Graphene, they also have a new product called Arb Fastlane, which makes it easier, a little more user friendly to actually do arbs between decentralized dexes, which is a big deal. So excited to chat with those guys. And I guess we will get that rolling now. All right. Well, we're really excited talking to some absolute legends of DeFi. Bancor. Thanks, Jen and Mark, for joining us. Jen's a well-known Bancor contributor, and Mark here is product lead. So really appreciate your time. You'd been kind of bringing in some new stuff on Fantom, but for the uninitiated, I mean, Bancor has some pretty big hits. Basically creating the constant product AMM. Actually had that to market before Uniswap, if I remember correctly. And then also, basically developing amplified liquidity, which was the model for concentrated liquidity, if I remember correctly. So awesome to have you guys here. Just such a seriously amazing history.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, so really just, I guess, getting into kind of like what are you guys are up to right now. I know you've got a couple new products. You started with Carbon DeFi, and where that ties into Fantom, we discussed this recently on the show, was you've teamed up with Velocimeter to bring Graphene, which ties into the Carbon DeFi system. So was just wondering if you could sort of, break down the system, what it can do. I briefly touched on it, but I'm sure you guys are obviously able to give way more details than I can. So, Mark, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, certainly. Let's begin with like how it's different from an AMM, because I think a lot of people have the assumption that when there's a decentralized exchange being launched, that it has to be some flavor of AMM, which isn't the case. And Carbon DeFi and the friendly fork that is represented by Graphene is also not an AMM. The AMM concept, if you have a look at the original like Bancor white paper, was really about tokens, right? Like it's these systems existed for the benefit of the token and for the benefit of the token project, and certainly not for the benefit of liquidity providers. In fact, in the original Bancor vision, the people who issued the token would be the only liquidity providers. There is no need to have a community of people providing liquidity to stuff. And why would you ever want it? Because that system is designed in a way to lose money over time. It was seen as like an overhead expense of the project in order to maintain a liquid market for the token that it had issued, and that's their responsibility to take care of. The transition to having liquidity be a community responsibility was, I guess, something like a marketing pivot, which proved to be very exciting, and this is what helped projects like Uniswap rise to prominence. But it doesn't change the fact that these are not financially performant vehicles and never will be. And so the AMM concept is a product for token issuers, not for liquidity providers, and not for traders. When I was asked to take over leadership of the project in October of 2022, I was already sort of deeply skeptical of the future of AMMs as kind of a catch-all. Like, I think that they still are a very important part of the DeFi fabric, and that they will persist and they should persist. But again, for token issuers, what was lacking was personal agency in DeFi, right? Giving people the ability to interact with markets in a way that is aligned with their personal view of what a token price is likely to do. In a way, an order book is kind of like the perfect mechanism for traders. It allows you to say, this is exactly the price that I want to trade at. It allows you to quote those prices publicly and broadcast it so that other people can see what where the liquidity is at certain price regions, and decide whether or not they want to interact with you. It's There's nothing wrong with that. So that's a completely transparent, open, and well-functioning marketplace. The difficulty is that order books are pretty much incompatible with blockchains. Like, the amount, certainly the way that they're implemented off-chain, it requires way too much data, and would completely bottleneck even the fastest, most high capacity blockchains today. We'll just never get there. The design that we've implemented with Carbon DeFi is to instead use the same sort of data compression that you get of the AMM swap mechanism, and then reimagine that as an individual liquidity pool, right? So it does borrow from the original, what we called amplified liquidity, of Bancor V2, which came out in 2020. And it's a rearrangement of that math, and as is Uniswap V3. But instead of having two tokens per curve and letting both of those token balances determine each other's prices, instead it only uses one token balance. So you have just one token per curve. And this means that you can quote arbitrary prices. And this gives you some really interesting effects that people are kind of used to experiencing. For example, you can set a pure limit order, which is something that's usually awkwardly shoehorned into an AMM infrastructure where it was never designed to operate. Whereas with Carbon DeFi, it's just a natural expression of the smart contract, right? It isn't something that you need to add all these kinds of if-else statements and other, logical clauses. Instead, it's just something that the system does, and there's no need for any additional code or hooks or anything like that. It just does it by itself. And that's because it was built with that purpose in mind, rather than trying to make an old system perform functions it was never designed to perform. And so, yeah, Carbon DeFi, the best way to think about it is as an order book-like structure, something that was built to achieve exactly those kinds of trading interactions, but in a way that is compatible with blockchain architecture. And then, yeah, we can get into some of the details later, because obviously, because you're broadcasting prices, there are no clearing houses or anything on a blockchain. So how do you, have the confidence that your orders are going to be filled if the market has an appetite to trade with you? And this is where the arb fast lane and things come into that, but we'll save that maybe for another part of the conversation. But then the relationship between us and people like Velocimeter is that also, when I, was asked to take over the leadership of the project and its future direction, I think I was also getting tired of this really inefficient way that the DeFi industry operates, where everyone sort of is copying each other's notes and releasing more or less the same product. And auditors love it because they get to audit the same protocol, 30 different times.
Yeah.
But there's just no need. And I would much prefer sort of a franchising approach, where if, like, instead of like if you cast your mind back to 2020, 2021, imagine if all of those Uniswap V2 folks had actually just signed a license with Uniswap, and that it was just lots of different deployments of the Uniswap protocol, and it was white labeled. Like, sure, like, I understand if you are making your own project, you don't necessarily want to say, hey, we're a fork of Uniswap and carry all of Uniswap's branding. You might want to say, hey, we are ApeSwap, or whatever the case may be. But still just use the contracts that have already been ordered by someone else, and that you still have a relationship with the proprietor and that kind of thing. And that's what I want to do. So Carbon DeFi, the system that it represents, is white labeled. So when we spoke to Velocimeter, they were like, "Hey, we like the product. We would like to do this." We enter into a licensing agreement with them, and then they deploy the contracts and they operate the front end and so on and so forth. But it's with a licensing agreement with us, which means that they don't have to do another expensive round of audits or something like that. And when they want to change something in their system, they have an open channel with the proprietor of that technology, who has a responsibility to them to help them solve some of their problems. So it's not just the sign the licensing agreement and we drive you out into the desert, to fend for yourself. It's an ongoing relationship, much more similar to how a McDonald's franchisee would talk back to McDonald's corporate, for example. I think that this is how the industry should progress, because it's much more scalable, so that you don't have to manage hundreds of different deployments. You've got people that are managing them all over the place, and at the same time, the people that are licensing those things don't have to sacrifice their own company identity, because they don't have to use the Carbon or Bancor branding if they don't want to. They can wash that and put their own branding over the top of it and have their own project, but don't have to waste a huge amount of time, figuring out how someone else's code works and essentially recreating it, which historically has had disastrous consequences. So I think that this is better for everyone.
When I was kind of learning about that approach, I thought it was brilliant, because it is kind of like what you said. It's, at the end of the day, most of these products are functioning, they're doing the same thing. It's just that they want to maintain, some kind of individual branding. They want it to be their project, but like you were saying about, there's been disastrous consequences for altering code and that sort of thing. Yeah, because it's like everybody's like, oh, it does this, but we've added this one little tweak to it, when it really doesn't even need it. It's just that you're trying to be like, it's still mine somehow, or it's still the company's somehow. So I really like that approach of that it's been well thought out, it's been audited, it works, and that if you want to maintain your identity, you can, but it's improving the market in a lot of ways where it's a good product, people have access to it. Like, what else could you want from that? I mean, especially with having support from you guys and everything, if they wanted to change something or they have an issue. So, because I mean, a lot of people, it's like, let's face it, they're just forking something, and it's probably a lot of times it's someone that doesn't even really know how to fork. They've just kind of learned how to push a few buttons on GitHub and deploy, and and so yeah, I mean, I think that's an excellent approach, and I'm excited to see more of that.
If I may add to that also, with Velocimeter, they've also taken the contracts that power Carbon DeFi and have started reward systems and things of that sort. So they really have taken what this technology is and not just put their own brand on it, but also added different things that really have their own their own identity in a sense, right? Because they're doing this on Base, they're doing this on Fantom. I think their rewards just started on Fantom. So they've really kind of taken it and then built on top of it. But in addition, like, to go back to what you were saying, with so many different projects just forking this, it's so true, right? I mean, we see it all too often where whoever is behind this technology will do an upgrade. They'll make changes to the contracts, and whoever is responsible for that fork, or who went around and forked it, doesn't know what they're really supposed to be doing in that sense. And this is where we see a lot of the exploits and things, right? So to have Bancor and like our developers, Bancor developers, saying, okay, this is what's been done, okay, this is what you can go ahead and do, take a look at our GitHub. And then on top of that, well, Velocimeter and Graphene, I say Velocimeter, they were the ones that deployed Graphene. So they're adding these rewards and things and doing things to really kind of set themselves apart from Carbon DeFi or from maybe some other licensees. Bancor continues to develop. So in the meantime, we've also released 2 nice, beautiful new features that are readily available to them to add to Graphene if they choose to. So it really works very well in that sense also.
Real quick, I just wanted to ask. So you're pointing out that these different projects, these different teams can kind of make the product a little bit more their own in their own deployments by adding on stuff like this. How do they do that in cooperation with you guys to ensure that they're not? Because if it's like a franchise, right? McDonald's won't just let you add whatever you want to the menu. Like we're
Right.
trying to preserve it.
Yeah,
Some.
Mark, you can.
I mean, it's still, I mean, it's still DeFi. So there is a, in order to sign that license agreement, we need to be dealing with someone that has a legal entity. But there are very clear distinctions as to like where the perimeter around the licensed technology ends and where the start of your own initiative begins. So we don't prohibit that. So it would be like, imagine if each McDonald's were allowed to add their own menu items. That's fine. Like they can do that.
Mhm.
But there's that's kind of where, that's where Bancor ends, and that's where you begin, and we don't have any responsibility
Mhm.
to the things that you've done outside of that. And while you could argue that wouldn't it be better if they were forced to do like exactly what was covered by the technology? And maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I think there's good arguments to be had on both sides there. But the reality is that there would be no way to achieve that, even if we did think that was a
Mhm.
better way to do it. So it's much better to just say, look, here is the perimeter around everything that we will help you achieve. And even then, there's like a little bit of a gray area where if they're like, look, we've got this other product and we think that they could interact together. Could you offer advice on, how to do certain things? Of course, we will do that. But yeah, we're not going to, we won't develop a separate smart contract for you in order to build a lending protocol or something like that. That's on you.
From what I know about Velocimeter, I mean, I follow them pretty closely. I think they're a good example of how it could work well, where they are also a project that has a lot of products and a lot of
Right.
systems. So if you have these other products and systems, you could say, hey, Graphene does this and it does it really, really well, and it's solid, and it's carbon DeFi and all that stuff. And of course, we'll integrate some of our other products with it, but people can still know here's what it does. It does it well. It's licensed. So I think obviously, like you're saying with DeFi, you can't necessarily control what somebody's going to do at that point, but people can still know, hey, this is something we offer, and this is how it was set up, and this is this is backed by the license and everything.
Going back to the McDonald's example, it's almost like you're franchising McDonald's, right? Here's our menu. Here's the menu. Don't touch the menu. Don't touch the ingredients. Don't touch the recipes. This is it. This is the standard. This is here. You want to add a strawberry shake? You think that this is going to make your McDonald's stand apart? You know what? Okay, add a strawberry shake, but it's not a strawberry shake that necessarily Bancor is going to go and mix up and come up with the
Yeah.
ingredients, right? But in the meantime, they are coming up with new menu items that they're saying, you know what, here's your McDonald's location. Would you like to add this menu? Because here's the recipe, here's everything you need to add this to your menu. So if we can play with that, that's kind of my interpretation of like the McDonald's franchisee.
Okay, that makes sense to me. My line of thinking was kind of along the lines of possible reputational risk if, say, someone were to license it, build some janky nonsense on top, and it collapses, right? Because it's interacting in a way that maybe it shouldn't. But it sounds like with the specific licensing agreement you guys are talking about, it's like we've given you the tools. We know they're good tools. We made them. We're vouching for them. What you do with them, I mean, if you decide to build something kind of dumb with it, that's on you, kind of thing. Like we're not really
Well,
vetting
and
like
Mark, yeah, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's the smart contracts that power Carbon DeFi that are being licensed, right? And with that, you can alter those contracts themselves. If you want to build additional features and things on top of that, then you're able to, right? But that core technology that's being licensed shouldn't be touched. Mark, is
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah,
okay,
that's
yeah.
a fair enough way to do it. Yeah. So the it's yeah, you can build you can I'm licensing you. I'm giving you an engine, basically,
Mhm.
and I'm responsible for anything that goes wrong with that engine. But if you put that engine in, a shopping trolley and drive it down the highway at 80 miles an hour, I'm not like, as long as, if you crash, then like that might just not have been a good idea, to do
Mhm.
that. But it won't be because the engine failed. Let's put it that way.
There you go.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I love metaphors. It's my primary way of learning. So thank you for walking down those with me.
You're welcome.
So yeah, so
Mark,
then on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead. No, no, no. I was going to say, I know Mark touched on the limit orders earlier with Carbon
Mhm.
DeFi, but there's so much more. I noticed when you guys were going through this in your original video that I caught, where we were like, okay, what is graphene? It's powered by
Yeah.
Carbon DeFi, and there were the 4 different order types. If we have a chance, I'd love to be able to kind of go through them with you, because
Sure.
I know that they're different, right? This is something
Yeah.
new that's being introduced through the product and through the kind of the technology underpinning it.
Yeah, what you want is, you know, you want a price quoting protocol, right? What you don't want is a price quoting wrapper around, an AMM. Like that's where the jankiness comes from, is that you're trying to get a system to behave in a way that it wasn't designed to behave, which is generally my criticism of things like hooks, like from the get-go, is that I consider it kind of like lazy protocol design. Like if it was designed to do a certain thing, you shouldn't need a callback. But anyway, the point is that the system doesn't just do limit orders. Um, the Depending on exactly how you want to break down, bonding curves and price curves and so on. Um, the way that I choose to think about these things is that, on the price curve side of things, you have a certain number of, you have basically an infinitely enumerated, like set of limit orders to one side. So do me a favor here, go to the, like, let's click on just click the single limit order and go from there.
Okay.
I think at the bottom of this you should see, next step. And so this is AXL USDC. So in this case, let's say that we're going to be buying the AXL USDC, and we're going to be creating its price in FTM. So I don't know what this token is, and so I'll let you determine what you think a fair price for that thing should be. But all we're doing here is putting in the price that we want. And so this is currently more than 2x above market price, which is fine. And then you putting in the amount that you're wanting to sell at that price, right? So this is, essentially the price that you want and the number of units that you have for sale. And after you, connect your wallet and publish that quote, that's essentially just broadcast to the blockchain. That's discoverable essentially as its own, if you like, personal liquidity pool. You're not pooling your liquidity with anyone else. There are no liquidity pools here. This is just a single unit inside a larger sort of blockchain context that anyone can discover and choose to interact with it. Which means that if I'm browsing the blockchain and I'm looking for AXL USDC, and I see, here are 5 of them available, which is great. This is exactly what I needed. And this person is asking, 0.8 per, fine. I'll send them that and I'll get back those AXL USDC. So there's no like liquidity curve to interact with. There's no slippage in this particular case because it's a pure limit order. It's just there. And the math behaves exactly the same as it would on any concentrated liquidity system. So aggregators and arbitrageurs and so on and so forth are able to discover these. So let's go back and then have a look at what a range might look like. So actually, tell you what here, click on the range order there. So let's say that you're not just trying to quote one price, but you're trying to call like a local bottom or a local top. So now instead of trying to guess, what price someone might want to interact with you for all of your units, you can set a price range. So here, just set a number that's higher. it will give you
Mark, can
a,
I?
go ahead.
No, I was going to say this is like you want to scale in or scale out of a position, right? Or fade in or fade out. This is like, okay, we're in a bull run. I don't want to have to time the top. I have no idea what, this token is going to get to, but I have a general idea, right? I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm going to start selling here and I'm going to sell all the way up until this point. Same way you would if you're buying into something, right? You see, okay, I missed that token. You kind of took off. You know what, though? I think it's going to dip back down. How far? I don't know. I want to start buying here and I want to finish buying here. I want to buy all the way down to this. I want to buy all the way up to this. That's kind of what this range order is doing. Go ahead, Mark.
Click on sell. This might make it a little bit
Sure.
more
Yeah,
intuitive.
so you're setting up here where you want to buy, and then you will set up where you want to sell.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
in
and you
this,
don't have
because
to
you're
do both.
creating just a single position. Yeah, at the moment you're doing this just with one position. So this is denominating everything in, you know, in the one token. So this is what we call a disposable order. So this is if you're putting some FTM down to sell it for Axel USDC, then as your Phantom is selling, then you're collecting that USDC, but that's yours forever. Right, that's not, if the price comes back or something, you don't lose those tokens back to the market that you would on an AMM system, because Carbon does not operate or attempt to operate like an AMM. So this is just you basically saying, look, I think that the price of Phantom is going to be somewhere in this range soon. I want to sell in that range. And if I sell, I want that sale to be final. I don't want to offer the market a refund, if the price pulls back again, which is typically what an AMM does. So this is normal. So I would say that that's kind of an advanced limit order feature, because rather than choosing one price, you can add a little bit of uncertainty. Like
Yeah, I like
maybe
that.
the price of Phantom, right, is going to move between this range, and it will say, fine, we'll spread that, your bidding prices or asking prices out over that range. So if we go back now and see how we can put those two things
Can I add
together.
something to that as well, Mark? For
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
range orders, also, Mark is talking about how it's broken down into a number of limit orders in between that, right? For all of these orders, you're acting as a maker, right? Like you're making the market. So for all of these strategies, what we call them, that you're creating, there's the network gas fee to create this strategy. You can adjust them, which we haven't spoken about. We might not have time to. I'm trying to look at the time here also. But as these orders are filled, this price that you're quoting, you say, I only want to buy at this, I only want to sell at this. This is what you're receiving. So when your orders are being filled, you're not paying for that. And like in this next feature, you're not paying for your liquidity to rotate either, your funds to rotate. So this is on the taker side. So this is really made for makers to benefit from, especially with the range orders, because I know that this is a common question that we get, is how does the gas work if your range is full of these different limit orders? And because it can be partially filled, right? It's not an all or none. So I just wanted to throw that in there while we were still on the range orders.
Okay, very cool. And then moving
Let's check
on,
recurring.
let's see.
The next two will move a little bit more quickly.
Okay.
But yeah, so with a recurring order, what you're doing is you are basically taking both sides of the market. So now you get to set your bidding and asking prices, but independently. So if this was an AMM and you were providing liquidity to a position, you would be asked, what are your, if it was a typical standard constant product AMM, you would just fund all prices. If it's a concentrated liquidity protocol, you would say, I'm only interested in funding a certain price range, but the liquidity will move back and forth, within that price range. I can't quote a specific price. Here, you can actually say, I'm only going to fund selling FTM at a certain range, and I'm only going to fund buying FTM at a certain range. And they don't have to be the same range, right? They can be different widths, so you can have different, you can represent different price certainties. So here you're offering to sell your FTM between 1.5 to 1 3/4, and then you can offer to buy it back between 90 and 80. And so what this means is after you fund these positions, so let's say that you're putting, I don't know, 100 FTM or something into the sell high range. What this means is that as the market price is moving towards that 1.5 to 1.75 region, it will be selling FTM for the Axel USDC. And that Axel USDC will appear in the other range, right? So the USDC that you're getting there will become a part of your bidding liquidity in the buy low region. And similarly, on the opposite, as you're buying that FTM, it is being put in your asking prices. So you're essentially, what you're saying here is to anyone, right? You're broadcasting this throughout the entire blockchain. I will let you buy my FTM from me between 1.5 and 1.75. But if you want to sell your FTM back to me, I'm only going to buy it between 0.7 and 0.8 or 0.8 and 0.83. And as the market moves around between this is that, your effective bid-ask spread that you're hoping to straddle. But you can choose arbitrary ranges, right? You can say, my uncertainty to the upside is, in your case, a slightly wider, and my certainty to the low side is slightly more narrow. And if you wanted to, you could fund just one of these, right? So set a limit order with money you don't even have yet, right? So you could say, I'm not providing any FTM. I'm going to set that number to 0, and I'm only going to provide USDC. And that means that I'm planning to, catch a dip on FTM and then scalp it again, for example, as it rallies to the upside after that. So you've got that sort of flexibility. And the ability to set limit orders with money that you don't have yet is something that you can't even really do on centralized exchanges, by the way. So I think that this is a very
huge.
good, a very good generalization of, a centuries old mechanism. And then the last one we'll look at very quickly is the overlapping, which is on graphene they call concentrated liquidity, because this is what people expect. But essentially, this is just because of the way that Carbon DeFi is composed, you can, if you wanted it, to create a Uniswap v3 style concentrated liquidity position. But because there are no pools, you're not you don't have to subscribe to any of like the predefined fee tiers. So every user can have their own fee tier, essentially. So, for example, in this part here, if you wanted to change the spread, which is the fee that people are generally familiar with, you can set it to be whatever you want. On a typical concentrated liquidity protocol, you would maybe get like 2 or 3 choices, like there's the 5 bips or the 30 bips or something. Whereas here it's like arbitrary. It's like, what do you want the fee to be? Every user can have their own fee, and because there are no liquidity pools, there's no like gas overhead to maintaining it. You can set whatever price ranges you want. There's also no tick boundaries. So you're limited only to the resolution of whatever the fixed point infrastructure can support. And that's it. You provide your liquidity, and now you've got the same sort of short straddle position that an AMM represents, should you want to create one. But this is essentially just taking what you just saw in the separated positions, fixing them to the same width, and then just moving them past each other so that they overlap. So you can get a normal AMM behavior if that's something that you want. But the power here is realizing that actually an AMM is a very specific subset of like a much larger collection of potential like liquidity operations. And so what we've got is like the more fundamental theory, right? By breaking apart AMM math into like its atomic components, and then realizing that you can compose them together to create, Uniswap v3, or you can compose them together to create a limit order, or you can compose them together to create these kinds of fading strategies or scaling strategies. It's in a way we're sort of splitting the atom here and getting to a much more fundamental theory of exchange mechanics on blockchains.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. I mean, I'm glad you guys came on, just so that I think if people could realize just how, I mean, I was going to say insane, not that it's insane in a bad way, but just, just how impressive this is, and the flexibility it gives you is, to me, it's just amazing. And I'm learning more now than I even, than I actually even thought I knew about all the things you could do with the product. So just it's insanely well done.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So let's see
We
here.
wanted to talk
Yeah,
about the ARB fast lane. If you guys wanted to, we can speak
yeah.
about that as well. I hope I didn't set us back too much by going through the actual order
No, no,
types and things. So
no, not at all. And we're recording, so we can edit or they'll cut down if we're move. We were like a little bit probably hung up on the licensing stuff. We'll probably cut some of
Yeah,
that just to make it
wasn't
a
my
little more
bad.
snappy.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I mean, this is great. I mean, um, that was why I definitely wanted to have you guys on. Was after our last chat, I was like, I mean, these guys are really interesting and know their stuff. So, yeah. So
thank
let me
you.
see here. What I guess let me pull up our Fastlane on your site. I think would be the best. Let's see, it's Bancor.network, I think. Just to have a nice little visual there. 1 second. Let me pop it up here. All right. Okay. I'll do a little intro here when you guys ready?
Ready when you are.
Okay. So that was a very nice deep dive in the graphene, and of course, it already being live on Fantom, you should definitely go play around with that. But another product that you guys have released recently that I think is fascinating is this ARB Fastlane, which it is now available on Fantom, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And if you just wanted to kind of explain the concept and how that functions.
Yeah, certainly. So there is one of the unique challenges that you have in the decentralized exchange, let's say industry or field, is that when you've got a new protocol, a new DEX or whatever, you kind of a lot of the assumptions that you make about how it's going to behave is contingent on this kind of efficient market hypothesis, right? Meaning that if there's a if you're quoting prices that are sort of in the money or at the price that the market is actually going to be interacting with, that no one's going to leave money on the table for long. There will be arbitrageurs and so on that will interact with your protocol, and this will help the system to perform its functions well. And it turns out that the efficient market hypothesis is a really bad one. Like it might be true sort of in aggregate, but in sort of a small granular time scale, markets are actually ridiculously inefficient, which is okay. Like there's no requirement for markets to be efficient. But yeah, as a product developer, it's frustrating because every time you sort of update update your system or something, usually you have to sort of call all of the arbitrageurs, and be like, hey, we're making a change. I hope that you realize this. You might call up 1inch and Open Ocean and all the aggregators that and think, hey, can you please make sure that you understand how this is going to affect your aggregation processes? And it adds some like dependency, where you're waiting on other developers to get around to integrating it. And it's just a bad way to do things. And I've been paying very close attention to systems like 1inch Fusion and CowSwap and even Uniswap X, which is very similar to those systems, where rather than rely on the assumption that someone somewhere will trade it at when they get around to it, instead to develop infrastructure that allows the markets to be interacted with in an efficient way via things like solver networks and things like that. I've always really liked that idea, except for maybe the ring fencing around the idea that there's kind of a community of like specialists that are sort of permissioned to interact with the system. So how we've sort of changed that idea a little bit. And I don't want to say it's better or worse. It's just a different approach. Is to instead say that the protocol is open and anyone can interact with it. But if you want to act as a solver for the network, right? If you want to be able to, fill people's orders using the rest of the liquidity that's on the chain, then here is an infrastructure that we make available to you to do that. And so the process is completely permissionless. You just fork the GitHub and start running code. And this is very, very similar to how, for example, the old proof of work mining concepts would work, where all you would need to do is run sort of a local client, and as it proceeds, you might win a block every once in a while and get that block reward. Except instead of a proof of work, what you're doing here is basically market mining, right? You're just running code, constantly searching for arbitrage across that entire chain, or at least across the dexes that we know about. So on Fantom, we've made sure to cover the overwhelming majority of the exchange TVL. And as you run that client, it will just constantly be looking for arbitrage opportunities. And it will calculate whether or not it's profitable after accounting for gas. It hides the transaction, protects the transaction, so you don't get front run or sandwiches hacked or anything like that. And then closes that arbitrage. And your wallet will just slowly accumulate value. And because it knows about the dexes that we build, then every time we want to perform an update, we don't have to sort of manually cold call people that we think are performing arbitrage. Instead, we can just update this GitHub, and the network of people that are running it will be like, oh, here's something that's going to make the make my instance more performant. And so I'm going to accept that code. And so we've got about 77 unique callers right now. And that's growing all the time. And as we expand onto other blockchains, it's just going to continue to grow. But yeah, this is not this isn't like a staking product or anything like that. This is literally just a GitHub repository that you clone and run yourself. And if you want to make changes to it, go ahead. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing that. But there is some advantage to keeping the code as is, because it's constantly being optimized. And so if your instance starts to deviate too far from the beaten path, eventually you'll just be running your own fork, which is totally fine. But it means that you just won't benefit from the continuous upgrades and things that it's getting. So yeah, it's a trading product because you're performing arbitrage trades, but it's much more aligned with sort of that mining mentality, because you're really just trying to accumulate, in this case, like FTM. You would just run this thing constantly and just hope that your FTM balance accumulates over time. And it will, so long as you're competitive and and finding those arbitrage trades. So while the network is relatively small, like I'd say, go ahead.
I think we left out an important part. We're saying accumulating the FTM and seeing that's accumulate in your wallet, right? But we left out that 50% or nearly 50% of that trade goes to whoever wins that trade, whoever the caller is. So it's this framework that's being offered to the community to run. Like Mark said, fork the GitHub. You're running the RBot, we call it a bot, the RBot yourself. And if you do win these trades, 50% of that goes back to the Bancor ecosystem, but the 50% remaining goes to you as the caller. So this is what you see accumulating in your wallet. And I think it was one of the previous upgrades. It's not necessarily ending in FTM. So it has been upgraded, the ARB Fastlane, to end in different tokens. So you might see it end in something other than FTM, but you'll see these tokens either way that are acquiring in your wallet as you win these trades. As you win an ARB, and that is what you're seeing accumulate in your wallet. I think we left that part out, and I think that's important. It's a permissionless framework that Bancor is deploying and saying, take it, have fun with it, good luck. We hope you win some trades. We hope you see these accumulating in your, in your wallet. And then, like Mark said, this is adding to the efficient, order execution on Carbon DeFi and the license deployment. So it's not just the aggregators, it's not just individual takers, it's this sort of built-in bot, like trading bot system that has been created to really support Carbon DeFi as well. I know Velocimeter, we were looking at the Velocimeter UI, right? It's slightly different than the Carbon DeFi UI, only because you'll notice that like Carbon DeFi is found on Ethereum, right? And Velocimeter deployed graphene on Base and on Fantom. And but right now you'll see rewards on their UI. What you won't see is I don't believe they've added the activity tracker and the simulator. So these are two new features that have been released and that will be on the Carbon DeFi app itself. But this is a really powerful backtesting tool, the simulator. You can simulate a trading strategy. Right now, it is the recurring strategies, and overlapping strategies or the overlapping liquidity will be added and supported shortly. So this is the simulator. This is where you can say, how would this strategy have performed if I had created this 6 months ago, 2 months ago? You can choose your time frame and you can play. This is an interactive chart here. So you can just kind of drag and drop your buy and your sell orders or your ranges. And you can run this, see how this would have performed. It gives you a wonderful summary, a really kind of more in-depth analytical view of what was happening when your trades were occurring. So you can really take this and apply it towards your strategy to really maximize its performance. And once you
Yeah, do
run
me a
that
favor.
and you backtest it.
So yeah, do me a favor. Click on the calendar drop down in the top right there. So right above the thing. Yeah, click on that. And let's go instead of the last 365 days, let's just do the last 30. Yeah, confirm that. Okay, so this is showing you the ETH USDC price, but we can also do this in exotic tokens. So on the token pair panel on the top left, instead of doing ETH, let's do sure, let's do SHIB. Why not? And instead of USDC, let's do USDC. Let's do that versus let's do
I
that
think you were in a
versus
Floki or
Floki.
Pepe or Pepe
Yeah, do
Floki.
FLOKI or Pepe.
So this
Fine.
is
Do that.
something that you can do that we didn't touch on with Carbon DeFi and with the license deployments is
Okay,
because of the
now
way that the system is built. Go ahead.
now
You could do
drag
these unique pairs.
drag that sell order. So to see that red range, you should be able to just mouse over that and drag it around. Yeah, drag it down so that we're buying high, selling low. Yeah, about there. Why not? Now, set your SHIB budget to 0 and set your Pepe budget to be like 1, 2. Yeah, keep those prices where they are, but the budget, which is just underneath. Yeah, you got it. Set that to 0. And if you scroll down and go to our bidding liquidity, which is Pepe, set that to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's it's a practically worthless token, so you need a high number to get a decent number in there. Perfect, $3,000. Good. Okay, now start that simulation up. And what it's showing you is over the last 30 days, if you had provided that strategy, you would have had a 10% ROI, but in Pepe tokens, right? So this is not, it doesn't know about USDC or anything like that. If you click the summary tab, which is just below that create strategy, yeah, right? So this gives you kind of a snapshot of how the liquidity is behaving. You can turn these things off and on using the eyeball toggles there on the legend. You can also next to summary, you'll see that there's a little download button that generates the data for you, like this simulation data for you as a CSV file. So you can import that into Excel or whatever, or you can put that into pandas and do your own data analysis with it. And so the point here is that, because of the way Carbon works, it no longer is, I think, it's no longer a requirement that the tokens that you're buying and selling should necessarily be denominated in something like the gas token of the network or some stablecoin. In fact, it often makes more sense to denominate tokens of a certain category versus each other. So the SHIB Pepe charts, if you've looked at them recently, it's impossible to trade those versus a stablecoin, right? Because they just go completely hockey stick shaped, and it's very difficult to get that volatility out of it that you would want as a trader, right? As someone who's constantly trading the volatility on these things. But SHIB and Pepe or SHIB and Floki or whatever, because they both belong to sort of that meme token category, they tend to perform similarly versus the US dollar, but dissimilarly compared to each other. And so there is this kind of chop. This is also true for tokens like, Compound and Aave, for example, where in general, they kind of move together versus the US dollar, but versus each other, they kind of are, obey this very respect, like they respect this kind of sideways channel with a relatively good volatility profile. But that means that if one of them is outperforming the other, you're only taking exposure to the other token, which is still going up versus USDC. So I've run simulations like this before where I've shown that trading meme coins versus each other, like the SHIB Floki pair or the Pepe Floki pair, you can very easily get something like a 50% return or something, but that's in a token that's gone up 12x, which is generally a much better way to trade. And Carbon is completely agnostic about this. You don't need to, use ETH or FTM or Axel USDC. You can just use whatever tokens you think are worth trading against each other. And because the ARB Fastlane knows how to find those arbitrage opportunities and close your order for you when the market is there, you've got confidence that these orders will be filled so long as there's enough liquidity on chain to support your order size.
Well, yeah, I mean, just seeing it like this, I mean, this is amazing. I'm definitely going to play around with this because, yeah, you're just kind of hardwired, to put it, with the way, a lot of the AMMs and everything else works, you're just kind of hardwired to put it against your gas token or a stable. So, yeah, this is, and being able to visualize it like this, I mean, that's just.
Well, here, do this for me. So if you click on the little back button next to simulate strategy, yeah. Yeah, so change SHIB for Floki, because that's one is a little bit more similar to Pepe. Yeah. Okay, and then let's change the date as well. So instead of the last 30 days, let's go out a little bit further. Let's go 90 or something. Yeah. So see, this is a very attractive chart to trade. Like it's generally sideways, but it has a pretty deep volatility profile. Meaning that there's lots of opportunities to sell one of these tokens for the other one as it's losing value, and then sell it as it's gaining value. And so setting these things up and trading these things this way is very advantageous. Whereas if you have a look at either one of those things versus USDC, there's basically no good trading opportunities ever. Like they go in a straight line down and a straight line up over very long periods of time. But yeah, like let's play with the strategy a little bit. Go back and let's move some of these ranges around. So if you so you know that you can move these things up and down, but if you have a look at the red toggle on the side there, which is telling you the price, you can also make the range thinner and larger if you want to. So see on the y-axis there, so on the far right of your screen, yeah, drag click on one of those and you can like make it thinner and things like that. So this is showing you how you can adjust your conditions, your strategy that you're creating on Carbon DeFi or on Graphene. And now we can look at, okay, had I made this choice 90 days ago, like if this is the strategy that I created 90 days ago, what would it have looked like? And of course, you've got the benefit of of hindsight here, but that's okay, right? We're just trying to get an idea of of how the system works and what kind of decision making it actually supports. And so
And you
that's a
look at
fairly good
history,
return.
like the trading patterns. You know what I mean? Like you can look at some pairings and you can see that they've been trading against each other like this or similar to this for the last 2 years. But you would never know it because you don't have this chart readily available to you. It's like what you were saying earlier, Dracula.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
All I'm saying is I wish I had already set this up, because I nailed the ROI on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 90-day ROI in a token that's going like 20x.
Yeah, so that's that would have been nice
So
to
you'll
have.
notice this is using standard ERC20 tokens, Ethereum, because this is where Carbon DeFi is deployed, right? But as I was saying earlier, these are the additional sorts of features that Bancor is adding to Carbon DeFi that they're also making available to the licensees as well. So when I spoke with Velocimeter just recently, our community was asking, like, is this going to be available on Fantom? Is Graphene going to be supporting the simulator? So it was kind of like, hey guys, what's up? Absolutely, we are. We want to get the reward system going. Then we're going to get the simulator in here. So once this is available on Graphene, on Fantom, this is going to be all of the Fantom tokens that you're going to find. So here it's, Carbon DeFi specific on Ethereum. For these future deployments, and for Fantom, it's going to have these tokens that the Fantom community is going to be trading that are supported there. So soon you'll see this on the Graphene UI as well, with all of your the relevant tokens.
Yeah, no, thank you all so much for coming on. It was really informative, and honestly, I wish I'd known about these tools earlier, or that I could have like these are things I've really desired. Being able to trade in channels like this is extremely useful, and to automate it so that I'm not having to be glued to my screen is huge. And also not being so subject to my own emotions. If it's automated, I can just take my profit and get the hell out of there. But yeah, thank you so much, Jen, Mark. I really appreciate your time. I know Dracula does as well. And I know the audience is going to appreciate it too.
Thank you,
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Thank you. We are happy to be a part of the Fantom community now. So thank you for having us.
I did want to ask, this is me me personally, but I was really interested earlier on when you were saying that AMMs are only good for token issuers. I don't want to get into it now, but if you had like a blog or a write up or something you could direct me to, I'd love to look into it a little bit more
Yeah,
after the show or
for
something.
sure. Yeah, I'll send I have a Medium, but all of the articles that I write there are also copied into the blog on the main website. But yeah,
Okay,
I'll send that to you in the group.
sweet. Thanks so much. Yeah.
You're very
Um,
welcome.
Mark, maybe that's a good topic for our next Unfiltered.
Yeah,
We
it could
host
be.
a blockchain. I host a blockchain banter. This is a call that we live stream. Also, I use StreamYard as well. If you guys ever wanted to come on, we can have you on opposite, and talk about the ecosystem and stuff. Or, maybe not even necessarily Fantom, like you were just talking about with the AMMs being good for, token issuers. We like this could be a topic, and we can get on and you could discuss it. We have other industry leaders and thought leaders that are our guests as well. So I want to extend the invite. Thank you so much for having us. Would love to have you as well.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Of
Probably take
course.
you
Yeah.
up on that sometime.
Yeah, Dracula is definitely the guy for it. I don't know if I'm high
Great.
IQ enough. I got to do
No,
some
this
more
is the
research.
beauty of it. You don't have to be high IQ. I sit and ask questions and I poke and I prod and I challenge. This is what I
Oh,
do.
you're fantastic at it, Jen.
So
Um,
it's wonderful.
anything else we should be looking forward to from Bancor, just to get it out there for you
A
guys?
lot.
Graphing
A
definitely on
lot.
the
Mark,
front end.
There are a couple of things in the development backlog. We've written previously about a system that we've already invented and have implemented called the automatic auctioneer, but we're only using it ourselves. So it's kind of like, hey guys, here's this new product, but no one is allowed to use it yet. And so it's being used as like a consolidation system. So this is we had a problem with if we're collecting revenue in a whole bunch of different tokens in a whole bunch of different locations. Like, how do you consolidate that into like a single token, or use that for some purpose? And all of the implementations that I saw before we approached it were pretty, I don't want to say that they were bad, but they all had like these awkward third-party dependencies, things like Oracle systems, even on-chain decentralized Oracle systems, that kind of thing, but they were all very exploitable. And so I thought about it, and I kind of came to the same conclusion that a lot of other people had, which is like a reverse Dutch auction style, system. So long as that there are enough eyeballs on it, will work quite well. And because we've got that arbitrage network, we can guarantee that there are a certain number of callers that will be competing with each other for those prices. And so we spoke about it and said, look, this is how this thing is going to work, because the Bancor DAO had, basically mandated that we create something like this for them. And so we did. And then immediately after talking about it, all of these other projects are like, hey, that's exactly the problem that I have. And it sounds like this is really good. So I need to productize that a little bit, because I would like to license that as well, because it seems like it's a generic enough problem that it could make a pretty good B2B business model behind it. So there's things like that, but then on top of that,
Colin, what's unique about it,
I-
Mark, if I may, really quickly? What's unique about it is the same way that Carbon DeFi and the ARP Fastlane are sort of integrated together, right? It kind of acts as this like built-in trading bot. The automatic auctioneer that Mark is speaking about is also kind of built using the Carbon DeFi and ARP Fastlane technologies. So they're all of these new products are kind of intertwined a little bit, if you will. So it's neat to kind of form this sort of suite. This is what needs to be done. We've got this. Let's just build this. Mark, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought I love the fact that they're all kind of together, intertwined, interweaved a little bit.
Yeah, and while I was doing that research, I was also doing some other research for like how to make the order types on Carbon DeFi more generalizable, by making them time aware. So for example, like things like expiries, or the ability to adjust your like, rather than having a horizontal channel, having a sloping channel, that kind of thing. And it looks like actually when you get to the bottom of the mathematics of it, these two things are the same. Like, when something becomes time dependent, you're basically describing an auction anyway. And so eventually these things will be like amalgamated together, and that auctioneer system will just be a type of thing that you can do on Carbon DeFi. So how you saw like the limit order, the range order, the recurring, the concentrated liquidity, or the overlapping liquidity, then there'll be another order type there that will be the Dutch auction style thing, which will be again a different sort of subset of what CalSwap and 1inch Fusion and Uniswap X is doing. I think that there will be, you should expect to see a lot more auction style, like exchange architecture in the future. I think all of the old AMM projects are all coming to the same conclusion together on that one.
It makes perfect sense. The space continuously evolving. Thank you so much for that. That was really insightful. I mean, I really appreciate you guys giving us all this time. This has been a treasure trove, really. I found this really informative. But yeah, you got anything else, Dracula? I feel like we've driven over their time. I don't want to be too greedy here.
No, thank you guys. I know we're over time, but thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it was great. So yeah, maybe we'll hit you up about hopping on the other show here sometime.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. And definitely just keep a channel open. I mean, if you ever, when you guys have your new thing ready, and if you're going to go the licensing route and all that, definitely, give us updates, let us know. We can have you come talk about that when it's ready, or, anything you guys need.
Yeah.
Would love it. Thank you so much for all the support, and for having us.
Awesome.
Anything, reach out. Like you said, we'll keep the channel open for sure.
Well. That was quite the episode, wasn't it, folks? We went from low DeFi culture, meme coins, to high DeFi culture. State-of-the-art trading process is brought to you exclusively by Bancor and Bancor affiliated products. So there's something in there for everybody. And I think if you got something out of this episode, you owe me a like, a reply, and a retweet, and maybe even a follow. Dracula's got to go milk the goats on the farm, so he can't be here right now. So I got it's coming from me directly from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for watching the show. Thank you so much for interacting with us. And this week especially, I ask for it every week, but this week we desperately need it because money's on the line. There's an incubator at stake. What meme do you think would be a good token? Which not existing yet, what do you think would be a good meme to turn into a token? Let's try to win some of that GOAT money. You know what I'm saying? I know Dracula's out there getting it the hard way. Be sure to follow us on Fantom Talk on X, GMSONIC, everywhere else. That's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to get your audio entertainment. We should be there. So catch you next week, folks.